as we start to relax some of the social restrictions, small social gatherings with physical distancing will be allowed. The choices you make about expanding your social circle will depend on your age, your occupation, and the health of the people that you live with.
That's British Columbia's Premier revealing the province's reopening plans today. It's the last province to do so, despite having the fewest number of deaths per capita. The guidelines do not state specific dates, but outline broad rules and phases going forward. The CBC's Susanna De Silva has been following the latest update from Burnaby, BC, and she joins me now. Susanna, the province gave a detailed presentation. Let's start with social interactions and how they will handle those going forward.
Yes, there is some hope for expanded hugging to come on the May long weekend. They say not in time for Mother's Day, unfortunately, for those who've been staying away from their mothers, but they're hoping that May long weekend, they're looking at the idea being seen in other jurisdictions, the idea of doubling your bubble, that you can, to your extended family or even some friends, expand that circle of people who can come over, who can give you a hug, give you a kiss, to expand that bubble. They're also looking at sort of an idea of gatherings of 2 to 6 people, but if these are gatherings with maybe a neighbor, someone in a further out circle, that those should be done outdoors when possible to maintain that physical distancing as well. But good news for many who've had some family and that they'd like to go and give a hug to that they haven't been able to. So they are allowing that to happen, but they are saying to hold off until the May long weekend, despite the fact they hope that people don't hear that and say, oh, let's do that right now. They would like people to hold off as they continue to watch those numbers, though they do say something that applies to this and every aspect, that if you are sick in any way, have any symptoms of cold, flu, anything like that, do not go anywhere, do not come near anyone. The other thing to keep in mind in terms of your circle and expanding it is if you are in a vulnerable population, if you live with someone who's vulnerable, perhaps now is still not the time to expand that circle.
And what will the opening of businesses look like?
They did give more broad rules. They didn't really give hard dates per se. They talk about mid-May for a number of things, and let's bring up what some of those things are that they're looking for in mid-May, and then I'll explain a bit about why there isn't exactly a particular date. So for mid-May, they're looking at things like elective surgeries, some other medical things like dentists, chiropractors, physiotherapy, some parks, beaches, outdoor spaces, and then personal services like hair salons, barbers, as well as restaurants and pubs. But the caveat to some of those, of course, here in BC, they didn't order closed as many businesses as in other provinces. But those ones that have been ordered in terms of those personal services, dine-in and restaurants, what they are hoping to see happen now is the industries representing those, or the associations rather, representing those industries to be coming up with the plans, the guidelines, the specific things they want to see happen. They then will work with WorkSafe BC to have those plans and guidelines approved. It's then up to the individual business to look at those guidelines, figure out how to implement them in their particular location, and even put those down on paper. Communicate that with their staff and post it so that the public can see those guidelines, see that they're taking this into account, and the province says they are doing that for an idea of public confidence.
Many retailers have already found ways to reopen with no-touch payment and plexiglass barriers. These plans take time, and we need to get them right so that workers and consumers can feel safe. Everybody has to be confident as we move into the new normal. We can't just say businesses are open, let's come and spend. Consumers need to be confident that the businesses that they're patronizing have done the hard work to be safe for their workers and their customers.
And so it's that why they haven't given a particular date saying these things are going to open at midnight tonight. It will be up to the individual location. So there's a particular hair salon you want to go to, you have to keep track and calling them to see when it is that they are going to open. In terms of some other things, they talk about sports. Parents are eager to know about that kind of thing. They say that high contact sports may not happen during this pandemic, but they are looking about low contact types of sports. In terms of schools, there is some schooling going on now for more vulnerable kids, as well as kids of first responders. They say they may expand that a bit, but full schooling of some sort won't happen until September. They're also talking about things that are not going to change, and that includes gatherings of over 50 people, as well as any large gatherings like concerts, sporting events, international travel. They don't anticipate a lot of those things happening until there is a vaccine or a treatment. Carol?
The CBC's Susanna De Silva in Burnaby, BC.